Hi, and welcome to a brand new episode of Kickstart Connections. I'm Lucinda Underwood.
And I'm Marc Boudreau.
Marc, how are we doing?
Doing great. Excited to be back here for another episode. We're doing it.
On schedule.
Second episode of 2025. We're actually recording on the 23rd of January.
Mm-hmm.
So if anything happens between now and the release,
we'll talk about it next time.
We'll talk about it next time.
We'll talk about it next time. Yeah. So we've got quite a lot on the show today.
We do. So we've kind of come up with our episode format for these bi-weekly episodes. The guest episodes are pretty much going to remain the same.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to cover our first topic, which is an entrepreneurial topic. 8 mindsets that you need to be successful as an entrepreneur. And then we might add one in on the end there. And each episode, we will be covering a different topic that relates to entrepreneurship and owning a business.
So if you have a specific entrepreneurship topic you would like us to discuss, reach out, let us know, put something in the comments. We would love to make sure we're talking about the things that you want to hear, right?
Absolutely. And our second topic, it's a segment actually. We're still figuring out what to call it.
Yes.
But it's going to be like a top 3, top 5 kind of thing.
Yeah.
I was like before the episode trying to think of some catchy, snappy name like Marketing with Marc, but that's so lame. It's like, is this guy really a marketer for a living? Like, unbelievable.
Marky Mark and the Marketing Bunch.
Marky Mark, yeah. Dear Marketing, it's me. I don't know. We'll figure it out, folks.
Dear God, it's me, Marketing.
That's what. Okay, that's what I was trying to do. The Dear God, it's me, Margaret. Whole
I got you.
Thing there. Yeah. So maybe that. Dear God, it's me, Marketing. That's fun.
I actually like that.
Yeah. Okay. Tentatively.
We'll come back to it.
Tentatively that though. We don't know. I don't know.
See what happens
Dear
when
God
we brainstorm.
But
well,
it's fine.
I'm sure God wouldn't mind.
Yeah. Whatever God you.
God is love. He loves it.
Love is God.
Yeah.
Dear God. End this episode. No, I'm joking. So this week we're going to be going over I don't want to offend anyone. My personal favorite top 5.
It's an opinion piece,
Super Bowl
folks.
commercials. With the Super Bowl around the corner, I know we're not all sports fans, but a lot of us do tune into the Super Bowl.
Yeah, even
regardless.
non-sports fans.
It's a bit of a spectacle.
Yeah.
Kendrick Lamar is playing the halftime show. If you're a big fan of Kendrick, I recommend it. And before I go any further, no, this is not Chiefs red. If you're watching on YouTube, this hoodie that I bought the other day is 49ers red, okay? The Chiefs play the Buffalo Bills this Saturday or Sunday.
If they win, do they get into the Super Bowl?
It's the semifinals right now. So the Super Bowl is 2 weeks from this weekend.
Okay.
And by that, I mean 1 week from this weekend because this episode's coming out.
Yes.
Next week. Don't want to confuse people there.
Gotcha.
So the Super Bowl is in a week and a half. And Buffalo Bills, we are all standing with you in your matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs, a.k.a. the Kansas City refs. And we need you. The whole world needs you right now, Josh Allen, Doug McDermott. Pull it out for us.
I don't know who any of those people are.
And I envy you for that.
All right. So what is the top 5 we're talking about today?
Top 5 Super Bowl commercials. I know I got right into there.
There we go.
Listen, the 49ers lost to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl last year.
I remember
the 49ers
that.
are my favorite team, if you didn't already know that.
Yeah.
Got a lot of sports teams up in here. I was in Mexico for that Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Ruined my vacation.
Was that Jamie's wedding? No,
that was 2 years ago now.
2 years. Wow.
I know, time flies.
Crazy.
Anyways, my favorite 5 Super Bowl commercials from the last, I want to say 40 years. I was born in 1989. And really, realistically, like Super Bowl commercials weren't really starting until like the late 80s anyway. So if I did leave any out that you love, drop it in the comments.
There you go. Tell them what you think, right? Now, and I should say, I have not watched any of these. I have no idea what commercials are on Marc's list. So you will be hearing my thoughts and my reactions in real time. Hopefully, I agree that they're good. We'll see.
Oh, no, you're gonna love them. I mean, everyone for the most part is gonna recognize these ones, but one in particular, I love it so much.
I might not because I grew up in the UK.
Yeah, you might not get any of them.
I had never seen a Super Bowl until I moved
guarantee
here.
you've seen at least one of these.
Okay.
I'll tell you right now.
All right, sounds good.
So that's kind of our second segment, our first segment, but the second part of this new format. Dear God, it's me marketing. Spelled MARCETING, whatever. And the final
yes. What's the final segment?
Is marketing in the news.
Right.
Dear God, marketing in the news. Where we're going to cover like 3 or 4 things that are hot topics in the marketing world. We follow a few marketing newsletters and blogs, so we've been looking at those over the last few days. There's some interesting stuff.
We're going to see what the people are talking about, you know?
Exactly.
And how then it affects entrepreneurs.
Exactly.
Love that. Love that. All right, well, let's dive in, shall we?
Right before we dive in, folks.
If you
are listening on your favorite podcast platform, please subscribe to Kickstart Connections. Give us a 5-star rating, or even a 4. I'll take a 4. I'll take a 4-star rating.
Ideally a 5.
Ideally a 5.
But it's okay.
And leave us a review. Let us know what you think. Suggest guests. Suggest new segments, topics. Tell us that, dear God,
Engage
it's me
with
marketing
us.
is a bad name for a segment, and give us the correct one. We'd love for that. And then if you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button. Not Chiefs Red, okay? Not Chiefs Red. Hit that bell button so you always know when we got new stuff coming out, and subscribe to our channel.
Perfect. So go and do all of that, but finish listening to this episode first.
Definitely. Or do both at the same time.
Multitask, like it.
Yeah, multitask. Open a new tab. Can you do that on PC?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure they are the ones who invented tabs.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get into it.
All right. Well, let's dive into the content for today then. So our first topic, our entrepreneurial topic for today, is all about the mindset of a successful entrepreneur. What mindset traits are absolutely critical to make it in the world of business? So I'm going to take the lead on this, but Marc, I want your thoughts and maybe experiences on some of these as we work our way through. So the first one on the list, pretty obvious one. I think most of us would have picked this as one of them. Vision and goal setting.
That is massive. It's a great way to start off. For me personally, I struggled a little bit with this one. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs do, because we're dreamers, we're type B personalities, we're not strict type A, scheduling, doing this, direct action. So I learned the hard way. That's an important aspect and an important part of the entrepreneurial mindset, because if you don't set clear goals, you don't set attainable goals, and if you don't have that vision of where you want your company, your business to go, you're directionless, and you may eventually end up in some we're vaguely to where you wanted to be, but it could take forever. It may not happen at all.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I train goal setting a lot in my leadership training, also in my sales training. It's so important. But sometimes I think we can forget that the kind of second part of goal setting. So yes, identify your goals, but you need to really create a plan of how to get there. I teach SMART goals. It's tried, it's tested. I haven't heard of any others that live up to it as yet. I know it's an older sort of concept, but it does work. Yeah. Really mapping out the steps. But the last thing is you've got to also then be willing to adapt. Yeah. If I ask you, have your goals changed since you started your business? Has your vision changed since you started your business to today?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No question. Like when we started BNV, we were just audio podcasts. That's what we were doing, just producing audio. We've since added video and social media management. And that was just because of the way the market was going. But at the same time, paying attention and we're going to get into all the other parts of the mindsets.
They all interlink, right?
They all integrate it into one. But yeah, very important. But the adaptability piece, which we'll touch on, that's important as well, because your goals, they're not going to stay the same. They may change. You're obviously going to reach goals, and you're going to need to come up with more goals after that. And the vision, of course, that can change as well. Yeah,
I think elements of the vision can change. I think the overall, why you initially took that step into business, typically us entrepreneurs, we do it because we want to create a certain lifestyle. Right? That's normally the deep drive within us. Is we want to have control over our life. So I don't know whether that changes necessarily, but certainly, visions for the company, how you see the
Yeah.
company growing, that absolutely can change. Yeah.
The what we do can change. The why we do it,
Not so much.
not so much. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Good distinction. All right. So second on the list, resilience and perseverance.
That's a big one as well because,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is just a great quality to have in life.
Well, you
because
kind of need both of those things in life. Life
Yeah.
ain't easy, right?
Life ain't easy.
No.
You're not going to find success around every corner
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to fail at things. But it's that response to that failure that is the biggest piece. And that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Because if you don't fail, you don't learn.
No, and you're not gonna succeed, right? I'm gonna share my favorite quote with you. It's a quote by Winston Churchill, and it is success isn't final, failure isn't fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. And that is really speaking to that perseverance. It's that courage that even if you fail, you don't stop. Even if you succeed, you don't stop, right?
Yeah.
You keep persevering on your mission. Very important, very important.
As a Brit, how many Churchill quotes do you just got ready to pull?
That's probably the only one I know, actually.
Isn't there some, there's got to be some big war ones.
I mean, I do have that tattooed on me.
What?
Not the whole quote,
Okay.
but I do have a tattoo that's based in that quote. Yeah, true story.
Interesting. Well,
True
there you go.
story.
You learn something new every day, folks.
There you go. Every day's a school day, Mark.
Unbelievable.
Mark.
Was that Churchill too? No, I'm joking.
No.
All right, moving on.
Moving on to, you already mentioned it a little bit, adaptability and flexibility.
Yeah, I mean, back to our initial sort of vision of what we wanted to do and our immediate goals, where it was audio and not sure where that was going to lead us to. We adapted to where the market was going,
Right.
added video, and we didn't add things that didn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
We added things that were going to help us grow.
Right. And that's where that strategy comes in, right? That
Absolutely.
strategic thinking. And we're going to talk a little bit about decision making here in a second. But yeah, I mean, adaptability, and being willing to be flexible is huge.
Yeah.
You know, as that saying goes, the only constant thing is change.
Mhm.
Change will happen. Change that's outside of your control will happen.
Yep.
I mean, a great example of that, the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yep.
I mean, that literally tipped the whole world on its head.
Mhm.
You know, entrepreneurs, if they were going to survive, they had to adapt real quick,
Big time.
right?
And not just externally, or internally, especially early on. There's going to be a lot of changes. I think of the restaurant industry. It's if you haven't already opened a restaurant, don't open a restaurant, which, it's kind of like that oxymoron. But there's so much that you're going to learn right at the get-go of what it's like to run a business, what it's like to create something out of nothing. And that's, we're going to talk about this later, but that's why it's so important to have mentors, is that you're going to learn new things. And if you don't have that flexibility to adapt and say, oh, okay, here's how I thought this was going to go, it's actually going this way.
right. And you have to have that desire to learn too.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think that is, funnily enough, actually, that's not on this list, but I think that is a really important trait, is to understand that your development as an entrepreneur never ends, right?
Absolutely.
You're always learning. You're always, experiencing new things, new highs, new lows. And it's how you process and how you react that's really, really important.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's talk about the next one. So I mentioned decision making, but it's actually risk-taking ability. What
This
do
is
you
a
think
big
of
one.
that one?
It's very important. I mean, you're creating something out of nothing. A lot of people quit their jobs to start a business.
Yep.
The general consensus is don't do that and kind of
I did that.
work on the side. Exactly. I'm saying the general consensus.
Okay.
I did that too.
I have a high risk-taking trait, though.
And so do I.
Yeah.
And I was able to, I quit my job, but then I served downtown in Halifax, actually, at a
Right.
few restaurants, because I did that in university. So I did quit my corporate job, so to speak, that was a 9 to 5.
To free up your time.
To free up my time to work on the podcast. And at that point, I really didn't know where we were headed.
Yeah.
But I didn't, it wasn't like I was quitting and then there was zero income. I was,
Right.
actually, I was probably making more money serving, but that's another story, folks.
It do be like that.
It do be like that.
Yeah.
But you've got to be willing to take risks, because even after you start the business, there's decisions that need to be made all the time.
Yeah.
And there's typically risk involved with all of them.
Yeah. It's so true. And I think, honestly, most entrepreneurs, they're going to have that risk-taking trait. Otherwise, they wouldn't be entrepreneurs. So to your point, right? You don't become an entrepreneur by not taking some risk at the beginning. But a very important...
We're adrenaline junkies.
Well, we tend to like to have adventure.
Yeah, the
right?
unknown.
I mean, I've made big decisions in my life pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But life is for adventures and experiences.
It is.
You know?
And I'll tell you right now, like, I graduated from St. Mary's in marketing in 2017. And at that point, the plan was just to kind of get a marketing job. And I sort of had a similar, you were talking about this off camera earlier, how you worked in the auto industry for so many years, but you eventually had the long-term goal of starting your own kind of thing, doing an entrepreneurial thing. And I think I had a general idea of maybe that was going to happen. Like, it wasn't like the be all end all. Like, I'm going to enter the corporate world and then that's it. But I saw that as a semi long-term goal.
Right.
No question.
Yeah.
But between graduating university and getting that job that I ended up staying with for 3 weeks, I traveled to Southeast Asia. And you talk about that adventure piece. It's the classic. Oh, you traveled to another part of the world and your Western eyes were open. But they truly were, especially in Thailand, because I had family in Bangkok, so that was kind of like home base. But you had so many mini entrepreneurs at stalls. Like, there's so many little small businesses going on, and it was super cool to see. And I know, you want to go deep into the politics of Thailand, and they're still king, and how much the wiggle room do people really have as entrepreneurs. It was still evident,
right?
And it really, like, kind of woke something up in me, because seeing these people, they seemed very content. And it could have been someone who was just selling meat on the side of the road, or someone who was doing a guided tour to an island. Like, everyone was in good spirits. And now I know that comes with the hospitality industry, and they're working, but it seemed genuine.
Content, that is such a great word, because we always think about the word success. A lot of times people will think success, they will then think in sort of dollar value, right? If I'm successful, I've got this kind of house, this kind of car, this kind of lifestyle. But actually, all success really is contentment. Yeah. If you can find and live a life that you're content with, you've won.
Yeah.
Right? So it was interesting you use that word. I like that.
I try.
My last point on risk-taking ability, we are not by any means saying just go out and say, yeah, let's do it, right? Think things through.
Measure, calculated risks,
Calculated risks. Weigh up the options, think of the pros and cons. But then when you do come to that decision, trust yourself and go for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, next on the list, innovation and creativity. This is an interesting one.
Yes. I mean, obviously, you're starting something from nothing. So there's that creative side of things. But you've got to be willing to innovate, because you're creating something to compete with things that already exist. And if you just offer the exact same thing, it's going to be very hard to differentiate yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Innovation is key. I mean, regardless of the industry you're in or what you do, the world is evolving at a fast pace.
Faster than ever.
And if you are not focusing on innovation, you will get left behind. I think that's fair to say. Creativity I find really interesting, because from my perspective, I would never have described myself as a particularly creative person. When I think of creativity, I think of people that, artists or musicians or those kind of things, right? But it was by becoming an entrepreneur that I actually managed to unlock a creative streak in me that I didn't know existed.
Interesting.
So,
there you go.
You may not think you've got it, but you put yourself under pressure and you challenge yourself, you might also surprise yourself. So
you can put yourself in the right scenarios.
Sure do. Okay, proactiveness and initiative. Pretty obvious, as to why this one's on the list, I would say.
Absolutely. I mean, the buck stops with you. You're your own boss. So if you're not going to take initiative, you're not going to be proactive about your goals and clear with where you are and where you want to go, you're just not going to get there.
No, exactly. And I think about this specifically from a sales perspective. When you first start your business, until you have a team, you are head of sales, right?
Yeah.
And until a sale is made, you do not have a business. So these qualities are very, very important, specifically in sales. You can't sit back and wait for people to come to you. Some might, yeah, sure. But you do need to be very proactive. You need to take initiative, and you need to be strategic as well.
Absolutely. And that's something that that's really one of the newer things that we've learned over here is that you can't just rely on word of mouth. Now, word of mouth is still where most businesses get their new business.
Of course. Yeah.
But that only comes from having a huge roster of clients,
right,
and being out there. Word of mouth isn't just someone knows you as a friend and tells another person about you. It's someone sees your ad but doesn't need what you offer, but knows someone that does need that offer.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that's word of mouth as well. So you do have to take the initiative. You can't just rely on things coming to you.
Yeah.
You got to reach out and get it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it is about, we talk about this a lot, but it is about mixing your marketing, right? You can't put all your eggs in one basket when it comes to marketing because everything really does work together, right? So that's very important too. Okay, we have 2 more to go on this list. And so we're at number 7, I think. 7 is leadership and team building.
Yeah, so this one is more further down the line. You've established your business, you're growing your team, and being a good leader, being a team captain, a lot of things go into that, a lot of different traits. And it's tough for me because sometimes you're not always breaking good news. And sometimes you have to have tough conversations. And that's something I'm learning about too, because I'm a people pleaser. I want to make everyone happy. But sometimes being a leader, being a business owner, and being a friend can't coexist. Sometimes they can.
Right.
But there's going
to be times, and you have to be you have to be able to kind of switch between. And sometimes it's about having an uncomfortable a conversation that's going to be uncomfortable and maybe make someone unhappy in the short term, but it's for their long-term development.
Yeah.
I always think one of my favorite analogies I've heard, about leadership is comparing leadership to parenting. You think as a parent of a child, you are not that kid's friend. You are that kid's guide, right? You are teaching them how to live life to their full potential and have a happier life as possible. So plenty of times parents are making their kids upset and having tough conversations and even disciplining them, right? But everything they do is for the best interest of the child. Exactly. So as a leader, you need to be completely devoted to your people in that sense, but be able to maybe have the short-term discomfort for the long-term gain, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And in terms of what does a leader look like, I think that can depend. But for me, I like to lead by example. So if you're coming in and you're excited and you're showing that enthusiasm, you're in good spirits, that's going to reflect upon the people that work for you. If you're coming in and you're negative or you act like you just don't really care,
how can you expect them to care?
How can you expect them to care? And that kind of comes into the team building as well. You want to set that example for your team. If you work for this company, here's what it should look like. And then on top of that is communicating properly with the team and with the separate team members, because everyone's their own person. Everyone's an individual.
Right.
Some people respond better to things that other people may not. And you got to recognize that and speak to everyone. I mean, obviously there's going to be times where you speak to everyone, But I think it's also important to have that one-on-one time.
Yeah. So I absolutely agree with everything that you said. And here's the thing with leadership, you know, I would say don't wait until you're building a team to work on your leadership skills and learn, because the skills that are required to be an effective leader are also going to pay dividends in other areas of your life, even your personal lives at home, right? Because, you know, focusing on how you communicate, tailoring your message to the recipient, not just how you want to deliver the communication, emotional intelligence, empathy. All of these are really pillars of leadership that not only will they make you a better leader if you are one, but they are really going to impact every other area of your life as well. So yeah, don't wait to learn how to be a leader once you are one, is what I would say there.
And yes, you're eventually leading a team, you're leading people, but at the beginning, you're leading your company.
Yeah. And yourself,
and
right?
Yourself.
You've got to have that discipline. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, last on our list and coming in number 8, self-confidence and self-belief.
Yeah, I mean, pretty self-explanatory once again. If you're starting something from nothing, if you don't believe in yourself, you're not going to get very far.
Right. That being said, one thing I thought when I read this on the list, so yes, absolutely, you need to have that confidence in yourself. You need to have that belief, because otherwise you're not going to really have any motivation, right, to then be proactive and do things. But don't think you need to wait to have the self-confidence. That's kind of what I did, I think, a bit. You know, it was my idea. I mean, honestly, I had my company named in 2015. I didn't start my company till 2022.
Oh, wow.
So I knew.
Okay.
I didn't know exactly what it was going to look like, but I knew. But I think confidence held me back a lot. And my point here is to say, don't wait to have the confidence before you do the thing, because that day may never come.
Yeah.
Right?
I remember starting Brand New View, which was the first podcast that kind of started this all. Like I hosted with a friend of mine, Ben Brammer, back in fall of 2018. Yeah, it wasn't 2017. Yeah, 2018. About a year after going to Southeast Asia, actually. And we had banked a few episodes, and we wanted to launch like first week of December. I had named December 5th as the day of launch day, and we were launching with 3 episodes because, you know, that's what the internet said to do, launch with more than one episode. And I can't remember exactly what we weren't completely sure about, but there was a few things that weren't fully ready for launch.
Okay.
And I know Ben was saying, oh, well, we can just wait a bit longer. And I was like, we have waited long enough. This is launching now, whether we're ready or not. Like, we are ready enough to do this. And I don't, don't launch if you're not ready at all, don't. Just wait, don't launch yet.
But don't wait for perfection.
But don't wait for perfection. There's no such thing. No. And no one is 100% confident in any decision they make.
No.
So there's always going to be that little bit of doubt, but that's okay because that's just human.
It's human nature, absolutely. Yeah. And at the end of the day, the confidence and the belief comes from doing the thing.
Yeah.
Right? Even from failing at the thing. Because then you can regroup and, adjust your plan as needs be, and then you'll get it next time, right? So,
and it's that belief that even though you did have a little bit of failure there, that you can get right back up
and you can learn from it.
And learn from it and still find that success that you're searching for.
Love it. I love it. I think that is a pretty good list. I mean, if you're going to say, give me 8 things to describe the mindset of an entrepreneur, I think that's a pretty good list. Is there anything that you would add to that?
Not necessarily a particular mindset, but I think like open to conversation, open to speaking with mentors and surrounding yourself with those type of people, because being an entrepreneur can be a lonely time. So if you're around other people that think the same way, that might be sharing the same struggles, it's once again, that's just human nature. It's comforting to know that other people are experiencing the same things.
Misery loves company, right?
Misery loves company. But you share in misery, and maybe that's a strong word, but you also share in each other's successes as well.
The community, I mean, we talked about this a little bit last episode, and I mean, honestly, we talk about it all the time. It's the foundation of what we do at Kickstart Connections, isn't it? Is that understanding that community is powerful. Right?
Absolutely.
Nobody's doing this alone. It's, you really do need that support. So I love that as an addition. And listeners, viewers, if there's anything you would add to this list, let us know. Let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
We would love to hear your thoughts on it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All
okay,
right.
you ready?
I'm ready.
You
I'm going to
excited?
hand over to you because this is your segment.
Absolutely.
This is your segment.
Here we go. It is time for Dear God, It's Me Marketing. Or Hey God.
Dear God.
Dear God.
Dear God, it's me marketing.
I think the
Is
segment...
that what we're going to call it?
The segment is called Mark Never Gets the Segment Title Right.
Why don't you just make a different one every week?
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Dear God, It's Marketing. This is top 5 Super Bowl commercials. All right, folks.
According to Mark.
According to me, right?
Yeah.
Just my opinion. And once again, if your favorite commercial wasn't in this top 5, drop the link in the comments if you're listening on YouTube.
Yeah.
If you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, you might be in the car, so hands-free, don't do anything yet. But once you stop and are in a safe space, go on our Instagram or check it out on YouTube. Let us know.
Love that. Love that.
Okay, so...
All right, I'm ready for this. I'm ready.
I thought about doing no particular order, just like a 5, but that's a cop-out.
So are you doing a top 5 you're going to count back?
I'm going to count, starting with
All right.
number 5. And this is an absolute classic.
Am I going to watch it on your laptop or should
I'm going to pull it up on my phone.
Perfect.
Okay, so folks, number 5.
And we will put these links in the show notes.
Yeah.
So you can go and watch them yourself.
I was thinking about doing like a picture-in-picture sort of thing so
Yeah.
they could watch it with us, but I think we get a YouTube strike for that. So
And what is it, 3 strikes and you're out?
Typically.
Really?
I have no idea.
Oh.
Never gotten a strike. Okay, so this is a Coca-Cola ad from 1979. So I said I was only going back to like the 80s. I lied.
Yeah.
1979, Coca-Cola.
Okay.
Now, a little bit of context here.
Okay.
The Pittsburgh Steelers in the 70s were one of the meanest teams in the league. And their defensive line was called the Steel Curtain.
Ooh.
Because Pittsburgh is a manufacturing like steel,
Yes,
steel
okay,
city.
yep.
That's kind of their nickname. So the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Which is why they're called the Steelers, yeah.
Exactly. So Mean Joe Green. And they had amazing... This is one of the things I miss about like old-timey sports is that everyone had a nickname. So Mean Joe Green was, before this, he was like one of the most just terrifying players on the defensive line. The quarterbacks scared shitless. And everyone, his nickname was Mean Joe Green. But what Coca-Cola did is they gave Joe some humanity.
Oh, all right. All right. Well, Coca-Cola, they're doing what they always do, right? They are very, very good at playing on emotion in their ads.
Absolutely.
Right?
And like the humanity, like they're all
the humanity
about
and
that.
how life is better when you're drinking a Coke.
Life's good when you're drinking a Coke.
It makes you a better person. Go and get a Coca-Cola. It makes you a better person.
Yeah. And they took someone who was seen as this big, mean defensive tackle, and they showed, hey, he's a nice guy. He's got a soft side too. He just needed a Coca-Cola, folks.
Was that still when they were putting cocaine in Coca-Cola or no?
No. No more cocaine in the Coca-Cola in 1979. They had that on the sidelines, folks. Okay. Moving on to...
All right. So number 4.
Number 4. Now, this was one that my friends and I loved. I think it was from 2004. Let me double check that. Sorry, it was actually 2003. I mean, not bad, folks. I'm not
bad at all. I might have even seen this one.
You may have seen this one. So, okay. So number 4 is a Reebok commercial.
Okay.
And this was a favorite of mine and my friends growing up. It was 2003 it aired. So we were 14-year-old boys.
Yeah.
Playing all the sports. And this one is called Office Linebacker.
Oh, I think I have seen this one.
I feel like you've seen this one because there was like spin-offs with this. I think it may have even been like a show for a hot sec, but it was Terry Tate, Office Linebacker.
Okay. Okay, I'm pretty sure. Yes, I have seen that before.
So that's just a wild, hilarious,
funny,
right? Like that's just pure comedy
he's
gold.
taking those people out.
I know, right? Like those extras or stunt doubles, really.
There would have been some whiplash there for sure.
Yeah, so that's a good one. That was more for like the athletic, like Reebok. You think of now, they pretty much just only do shoes and then a few other things, but mostly shoes. But back then they were making like hockey jerseys, football jerseys. They were doing everything. So that was great, hilarious. We all loved it as teenage boys.
I bet you did. Yeah.
Number 3.
Okay.
Is a great ad. It's a newer ad. It's from 2018.
Okay.
And it's for Tide.
Ooh, I don't think I've seen it.
Tide, if you recall, all those kids reading Tide Pods for a hot sec.
Yeah, was that when that was happening?
No, I think this was before.
Okay.
This was before TikTok, 2018. I think it was still called Musical.ly back then. That's neither here nor there. So this stars David Harbour, who was the sheriff from Stranger Things.
Yep.
And he's in other stuff before that, but that was his big break.
People,
and now he's like, he's in Marvel. He's like some sort of soldier, superhero, supervillain. Who knows?
Interesting.
I haven't watched any Marvel movies in a long time. But Tide 2018, it's a Tide ad. That's what it's called.
Okay. That's very clever.
Genius, eh?
Very
I forgot
clever.
about the last part there where they're like, so wait, is every Super Bowl commercial a Tide ad?
Yeah. That's really interesting because the repetition. So yes, it's like the chaos marketing that we were talking about last week, right? Like when something appears to be something different. But the repetition's important in that. Yeah. Because if there wasn't that repetition, you'd forget what it was for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I like that. That was cool.
It's a good one, eh? So a newer one that...
that might be my favorite so far out of the 5. I'm going to pick my winner.
Well, yeah. It was the third best one.
Well, we'll
so
see.
Far.
We'll see if we agree. I'm going to pick my favorite at the end.
Okay. The second place finisher.
Okay.
And this is probably the most famous Super Bowl commercial. I mean, you got like the Clydesdale commercials, like the big horses.
I know, yeah.
That's one of the famous ones. You have some Snickers ones, like with Betty White, and like, where's the beef? Like, those are all pretty big ones. But this Budweiser campaign,
I know what it is
probably the biggest.
What year was that from?
The phone ring. Let me check that. 99. And then it ran for 3 more years with different campaigns because that's how big it was. So.
Yeah. I mean, that ad was iconic.
Yeah, I mean, and
that even made its way, like that was big in the UK.
That was everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And people, it made its way into the cultural zeitgeist.
Popular culture,
everyone was doing it. Everyone would call people and be like, what's up? What's up? Everyone was doing it. In school, we'd all be like, what's up? And I can't, like, talking about like risk taking. Mm-hmm. Imagine pitching this in the marketing meeting, being like, okay, our Super Bowl commercial is just going to be dudes watching the game saying, what's up? Like
watching the game, having a bud.
What's up? And they're going to keep saying, what's up? And it's like, are you serious, sir? But like that massive risk. And it was strategic because like, it's kind of like, with music, it'd be like an earworm. It's something that just gets stuck in your head and it plays over and over again.
Well, it's that repetition, kind of like the Tide ad, right? Repetition's important.
What's up?
But also, like, thinking about it, if that was 1999, that was kind of like viral before viral was a thing.
Yeah.
right? We think
True.
about that. You think about viral videos that make their way into popular culture.
That's true. That was
Interesting.
one of the
Okay,
first
well, if
viral
that was number
videos.
2,
Number 1.
what's number 1 going to be?
Oh my goodness, folks. How did we get to 50 minutes already? We said this was going to be a short episode. Too bad. Too bad, folks.
We've been talking lots.
We've been talking. I mean, that's what happens.
The last segment will be quick.
Last segment will be quick. We'll just
hit on those.
run through those headlines. But before we do that, folks, my personal favorite Super Bowl commercial, also the manufacturer of the car that I just purchased last week.
Okay. Well, I know the answer to that.
Yeah, that commercial's still doing its job, folks. It's the Volkswagen Darth Vader ad.
I feel like I've seen that, but maybe I haven't.
Yeah,
but I love it.
Way. Isn't it so sweet?
And it's very well done like you say, it evokes that emotion. It makes you feel good and you're like, oh, the kid thinks he's magic.
Mm-hmm. And I've been absolutely abusing the remote start right now because we're in a polar vortex, folks.
But it also advertises the features on the car, right?
Yep.
Which, thinking about it, in 2012, that wasn't really something that I think came from factory.
That was from 2012?
Yes, it said all new 2012 Passat.
Oh my god.
So I think that would have been a feature that was, something people were looking for, especially in Canada. Did they show that in the US as well?
Oh yeah, these are all US.
Oh, they are US? Okay.
It's the US and then we get it in Canada.
Okay. That's true.
We're not making any ads up here except for 310 30 30. Greco. All right. Moving on, folks. We're going to just fly through these marketing headlines to get you out of here in timely fashion. Just kidding. That moment has passed. Okay. So this is actually from a UK website, Marketing Week, but it's still super interesting and applicable to the North American market. But marketing budgets are back up.
Yeah.
And this was something I talked about a lot over like the last several years because of COVID, is that like we're still experiencing the effects of COVID from many different standpoints, but especially an economical standpoint. And one of the first budgets that gets slashed is the marketing budget.
And training.
Both of our budgets get slashed. So it's nice to see that marketing budgets appear to be going back up with businesses. Now, these would be the bigger businesses that they're talking about, but that's a trend that we like to see.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think it's important because it's funny, even though I joke that it's marketing and training that tend to be the first ones that are cut, they are two things that are going to have probably the biggest impact.
Tell me about
it. Right? So I think, and I think that's really what's happened is, from COVID, decisions that were made during COVID where it was literally just focused on saving money and cutting costs, they've now realized the impact of that.
Well, that's a good point.
They don't have trained employees. Their customer experience is not great. They can't keep people. They're not getting the new business that they're wanting because their marketing hasn't been there. So it makes sense that it's now being adjusted back, and I'm sure we're going to see a similar pattern here in North America as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's next?
Just a couple interesting stats in terms of social media in 2025. So if you're a brand that is planning on jumping on trends.
And we talked about trend jacking on the last episode, did we not?
Trend jacking, we certainly did. Here's some interesting numbers for you. 33% of consumers think brand jumping or trend jacking on viral trends is embarrassing.
I can believe that.
So about 1/3 of people.
Yeah.
However, 40% think it's cool. So
that makes it a hard decision to make.
Exactly.
That's pretty close.
So, I mean, I think 40% is more than enough to, sway you in that direction. But it's still interesting because I thought it'd be a little bit higher in terms of thinking it's cool, just because, And I think it really depends on how you pull it off.
That's exactly what I was just about to say.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was just about to say, because I think it's, and actually funny enough, the article does go into this as well, is, people want depth. I mean, I'll use their words. People want depth over surface level participation from brands. So I think if you are jumping on a trend just for the sake of jumping on a trend, you're going to lack authenticity in your marketing message.
It comes back to the authenticity.
Everything does, right?
Yeah.
Because again, marketing is a way to create awareness and build trust, and you have to do that by being authentic. So there is some strategy needed, I think, to be able to really leverage the trend. You need to do something that is still going to meaningfully engage consumers.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah. Interesting,
Absolutely. All right, moving on back to some Super Bowl news.
Oh, Super Bowl again.
Super Bowl again, folks. And funny because we just showed that Volkswagen ad. They will not have an ad in this year's Super Bowl.
Right.
And neither will every other car company except for Jeep. So what was once a staple for car companies, now it's just a Tide ad.
So
I don't even get a laugh for that.
what did you say?
I said, now it's just a Tide ad.
Oh,
You weren't even listening.
Sorry.
I can't believe. Cut to her laughing.
I was thinking about what I was going to say. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, basically, the reason that automakers are stepping out of the Super Bowl ad space is because ROI isn't there, right? Obviously, we know. I mean, a Super Bowl ad is going to be the most expensive commercial you're ever going to air, right?
Yeah.
Let's face it.
Yeah.
And, ROI needs to be there. But it's very interesting what Jeep are doing, that they are going forward with it, because Jeep, the automaker that owns Jeep and Dodge and all of the other little brands in there, they're not doing so well. They haven't been doing so well.
Yeah.
So this is, I think, all of the other automakers stepping out of this arena is a hell of an opportunity for them.
Yeah. Well, this is interesting because, once all the flies started to drop or fall, whatever the saying is that why Jeep made this decision? I think maybe early on they were like, we got to pull out, like the return's not there. And then all of a sudden everyone else pulled out and they're like, wait, we're going to be the only car company.
I would say that they made the decision afterwards because hell of an investment that they don't know if they're going to get their ROI from, and they're in trouble.
Yeah.
So I think it would have to have been a very strategic decision, and likely they knew that other automakers were not going to participate.
Yeah.
They see that as an advantage. It'll be interesting to see if it works.
Let's see if this risk pays off.
Let's see if this risk pays off. Absolutely. But yeah, that is interesting. And hopefully it's a good commercial.
Yeah. And if you are an auto company that is looking for a better way to get return on your investment, I think it's time to call us.
Yeah, we can help.
We can help. And finally, folks, State Farm is pulling out of the Super Bowl. They're pulling their ad because they want to direct that money towards the wildfires, towards the people that took the fire insurance away from.
You've got to catch me up on this because...
Yeah.
So am I right in thinking, from what you just said, State Farm are refusing to pay out?
So there's been a lot of fires and there's been a lot of destruction. So, and I'm playing devil's advocate here. I think it's shitty what's going on here, but they pulled fire insurance from multiple policies of people all over that area that was affected by the LA wildfires that have been going on for a while. And what's so nuts is that these people, like, not only they lost their homes, but they don't get back the premium that they've been paying, thinking that they were insured from fire. So State Farm is like, we're pulling our ad. It's like, no, you're pulling your ad because the heat is on you and you don't want to be in the spotlight and get any more backlash, because unfortunately we live in a fast-paced society where if you just sit back and let the news pass,
you'll be forgotten.
You'll be forgotten about. But I say here first on Kickstart Connections, we're not going to let that happen, are we? We're taking State Farm down and we're taking Jake
But
with us.
it's interesting because it does, yeah. So I'm just kind of looking through this now. So it says here, in recent years, they've stopped offering, they've actually stopped offering new home insurance policies in California amid surging costs from extreme weather linked to climate change. So like, I get it from a business perspective.
Yeah, it's like don't live there, maybe.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, they have to evaluate risk, but the fact is, insurance companies make a ton of money.
Insane amount.
A ton of money. Like, I don't think they probably need to make that much money. And actually, funny, I also just saw a fun fact for you. Super Bowl ads. So last year, the price for a Super Bowl ad was $7 million for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And from 2019 to last year, that was up 55%.
Yeah, everything's up.
But no, that's huge.
I know, it's insane. It's insane.
Anyway, it's crazy, which is probably why the automakers are dropping out, because it ain't worth the money anymore.
No, it's going to be all gambling ads, folks.
But yeah, I mean, in summary.
Yeah, not great State Farm, not a good look, and that's why they don't want to be in the spotlight. This sweater is not State Farm red.
Or KC red.
Or KC red. It's 49ers red.
49ers.
You may see a tinge of orange. That's just your eyes.
No, it's pretty orange.
That's just your eyes. All right, folks.
All right, let's wrap this up and get out of here.
It has been a great episode. I'm going to stop promising that that we're going to have a shorter episode this time because
we just
keep talking, but that's okay. Folks, once again, we're glad you joined us. If you're here on your favorite podcast platform and you're listening, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. Leave that 5-star rating. No more 4-star ratings. I changed my mind. That was mid-episode me. Now I'm at the end. 5 stars only.
Things change, right?
Things change. And if you listen the whole way, then you're a 5-star listener. And leave a review. We'd love to know what you think of the podcasts, any recommendations, anything like that. We appreciate it. And of course, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that bell button, and subscribe to the Kickstart Connections YouTube channel.
Thank you again for joining us, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.